Good morning, everyone. Just want to say welcome and thank you for joining our Simple Fund 360 Bank Data Automation webinar today. Now, today's webinar will be hosted by myself, Alyssa, and Anthony Costa, who's our Training and Documentation Manager. A bit of an intro to, I suppose, who I am and how I joined BGL. So I am the product advocate at BGL. I joined in September of last year, and I actually joined from an accounting firm where I was one of the members of the SMSF team. We went through the process of migrating from Simple Fund Desktop across to Simple Fund 360. And then subsequently, once that move was done, we looked at rolling out the automation plan. So today's webinar is going to be about the bank data automation. So thank you again for joining us, and I'll hand over to Anthony to do a bit of an intro on himself.
Hi, Alyssa, and once again, thanks everyone for taking the time today in listening in, and hopefully you get some tips and tricks and how to establish the automation in Simple Fund 360, because that's what it's all about. So that's what we're here today to guide you through. Once again, thanks Alyssa for the intro. I am Anthony. I'm the Training and Documentation Manager at BGL. Been in the industry for about 15 years. Had all sorts of roles at BGL, and currently, just sitting in the Training and Documentation role at BGL. So Alyssa,
Yes.
Are you there?
I am here. We'll move on to just a bit of housekeeping before we kick off into the webinar. So the webinar is being recorded today. If you've registered to attend, you will receive an email with a link to the recording once the webinar is over. It might take a couple of days. They just do a bit of editing for us. And if you have any questions throughout the webinar today, please use the Q&A option at the bottom of your screen. We do have a number of the BGL team online helping us answer questions throughout today's webinar. So we'll jump over to the next slide and we'll just go over what we're going to cover today. So can't emphasize this point enough, but start with a plan. We'll also look at the feed management screen, the bank data automation mind map. This is something I've put together just to determine whether their feeds are necessary or not. The setup and the benefits of having them, and also the use of smart docs. And so we'll cover a bit more about that once we get into it. But we'll head over to start with a plan. So, cannot emphasize this enough. If you have made the move from Simple Fund Desktop across to Simple Fund 360, or if you are new to using Simple Fund 360, cannot emphasize enough the importance of breaking down the automation that's available within the software into stages. So the firm that I worked at, the first step that we looked at for our automation project was the bank data. We did that across all our funds where it was applicable. And then we looked at going into share data and wrap feeds. It wasn't something that we did all in one go. It was definitely in separate stages. So today's webinar is obviously around the bank data. So once you've broken down the stages, first step then is going to be to identify suitable funds for the bank data. Also important to consider the timing of getting forms signed, and we'll cover a bit more about that when we do the setup and then the smart docs section and the data entry for missing periods. So that will also be covered in the smart docs section. So we'll jump over to the next screen, which is the feed management screen. Now, for the users that are new to Simple Fund 360, or if you haven't yet got any automation, this might be a bit of a new screen for you. We will do a live demo, but what we're going to look at is the fund view. So on an individual fund basis versus the global view. So looking at the status of all the funds that you have in the software. This was also a great screen to check your usage levels. So for your data packs, filtering in terms of being able to filter between different statuses, whether the feeds are available, whether the bank account is supported, and also the stage. So when you are rolling out a automation plan, this screen is unbelievably useful for identifying what status they're at. So whether the form's been generated, whether it's out for signing, whether the form's been submitted and you're just waiting for the feed to be activated, or whether the feed is activated. We'll also cover from this screen how you can bulk generate authority forms rather than having to go through and do it one fund at a time. So I will switch over now to Anthony, who's going to jump into the feed management screen for us and do a bit of a live demo and just show us those points that I was just talking about.
Thanks for that, Alyssa. All right, so hopefully you can see my screen, and I've got Simple Fund 360 open. Now, I'm in the entity workflow screen. So this is just your home screen when you log into Simple Fund 360. And using the left-hand side main menu, it's just a matter of hovering over Connect and navigating to your feed management screen. Now, a lot of thought went into the redevelopment of this screen. You'll see here that because I have an entity selected, you will have an entity summary that's going to display when you first navigate to this particular screen. Now, this entity summary screen will show you details of the bank feeds that have been established or waiting to be established for that particular entity that you've selected. Now, the reason why I'm saying entity is we are in the phase of launching Simple Invest 360, and what you see in Simple Fund 360 will apply across to Simple Invest 360 as well when you're establishing those data feeds. Now, going back to the entity summary, you'll see here there are a number of columns that are searchable. So you can see here, just using those quick drop down items there, you'll be able to create searches on particular columns. So to start with, we've got our feed provider, the institution that you're banking with, your account details, and this is a really important one, the feed status, where you can track the progress of your authority forms. Going across, and these two particular items will definitely save you time and become useful. You'll be able to tell when the bank feed became established and when it started operating in Simple Fund 360. We'll get back to that particular feed and how you can actually use this to your benefit. The next one is the last process. So when the last transaction was loaded into your ledger, and finally you've got some actions that you can carry out. You can track your licensing from this screen as well. So the bank data service is on a license, and you can see here that you've got your total license and how many of those particular licenses have been used as well. Now, going across to the bank feeds global screen, you're going to be able to have a look at how to manage your data feeds on a global scale. So it's looking at your entire database. And going back to starting with the plan, these filters are going to definitely help you with that particular plan that you've got in place. You're going to be able to track the status of your particular authority forms based on these particular filters. Now, it's pretty important when you are entering in your bank accounts into BGL that you do put in your BSB and account numbers, so you do get the most out of these particular statuses and filters in the global bank feed screen. So you can see here that we've got funds that have been set up that have bank accounts that aren't currently supported by BGL. And then across, we've got 6 supported entities in our feed management screen that we can actually activate a bank feed for. And then going across, we've got some awaiting signatures. So we may use this in our plan so we can get in contact with the client and see why it's taking so long for them to actually sign the authority form. Now, when it's with the financial institution, you can see here that we're pending their approval. Finally, you can monitor all the feeds that are operating in your database. And you can see there that we've got also a stopped and an attention filter as well. And these are going to be critical to making sure that those data feeds are running without any interruption. So you can see here that, and these validations are improving on every release cycle that we're doing in Simple Fund 360. So you can see here that we've got Further approvals required for this particular bank authority form, and we've got an invalid signatory. Now, what I want to also point out is that we've got a dedicated support team to help you through the process of activating your authority forms. So you can link up with that support team and they will guide you through activating those feeds and hold your hand through the process as well. Now, with regards to the authority forms, we're going to get back to that in a second, but I am going to hand back to Alyssa now. So we've seen some of the benefits in the feed management screen and how it sort of links in with the plan. But talk me through the mind map that you're talking about when setting up your data feeds.
Yep, no worries. Thanks, Anthony. Now, with the rollout of a plan, it's important to consider BGL and Simple Fund 360 obviously sell the fund as a base product with the option of adding on. It is a point of difference that we offer. Not all funds need to have bank feeds. So important point to ask. So the first question you look at is the bank account supported for feeds? So Anthony just showed us in the feed management screen how you can track and see whether the feeds are supported. As he also mentioned, it's important when you're setting up bank accounts in Simple Fund 360 to be inputting the BSB and account numbers. That way you can keep an eye on if a bank account, for example, wasn't previously supported and has then been added to the list, just so you can keep an eye on whether the account is now supported and the feeds can be activated. So checking to make sure the bank accounts are supported for feeds is your first step. Then you're going to look at, if they are, does the fund need bank feeds? So ideally, the sort of fund that you would have bank feeds switched on are funds that you know have multiple transactions occurring each month. Realistically, setting up feeds for a fund that has potentially 12 interest payments for the year and then a journal distribution that comes through at the end of the financial year, they're not going to be an ideal fund for bank feeds, and you're not going to see the benefit out of having those feeds. The funds that have multiple transactions coming through, whether that be trading or it could be multiple rent payments, as well as contributions coming in on a regular basis, they're the funds that you're really going to see that benefit from. Another great fund, I suppose, to identify as being really eligible, and you'll see the benefit of having the feeds, are funds that you process on a quarterly basis for GST purposes. So having that information live coming through means that when you're going to your client to ask them for information, you can already see the queries that could potentially be coming up because you've already got that data feeding through into the software. So if the fund does need bank feeds, that's when you look at generating the authority form to be sent to the client for signing. We will go through that in the next bit, where Anthony will do a bit of a demo for us to show us how to set them up. If the fund doesn't need bank feeds, you've always got the option of using the Smart Docs, which we're also going to cover, or a CSV to bring in the transactions. So if the bank account isn't supported for a feed, we'll come across to the other side. This is where the transactions can again be imported by using Smart Docs or via a CSV file. We are always looking at the bank accounts that are supported and adding to that list. So we have a large number of bank accounts that are currently supported, but you do also have that option of using the Smart Docs or a CSV file if the client's happy to provide one for you to get that data into the software. So we'll jump over onto the next screen and we'll get Anthony to go through just how you do this actual setup for the bank feeds and how you generate those authority forms to be sent to the client. So I'll hand over to Anthony. Thank you.
Thanks, Alyssa. Now, you did mention that you could upload a CSV file, and I just want to point out that the feed management screen is your one-stop shop for data feeds. So you'll notice that there is an advanced option there, and you do have file imports that you can start uploading data into bank accounts. Now, also from this advanced options, that I just want to point out that you can get some reports out of Simple Fund 360, and it's basically replicating the data that's on screen now. Now, we did also touch on the supported banks, and I did mention that once you've got your BSB and account number in, we're able to identify what the supported banks function would appear under this particular filter. But if you do want to have a look at our help, we do have a number of listed institutions under the supported banks help file. and you'll see there all the institutions and accounts that are supported within BGL. So what I'm going to show you now is how to actually generate the authority forms. I'm going to show you two ways of going about it. So if you want to quickly get an authority form out for one particular entity, once you've got the entity selected and through the entity summary, if you scroll across to the setup button next to the feed, it's just a matter of working through this wizard to generate the authority form. So you can see there that I've selected the setup against the bank account. And if I don't have the bank account details entered, I can enter them in at this particular stage as it is editable. My feed provider is set to the BGL bank data service, and then I can print the authority form. There is a signing letter as well if you want to attach that to the authority form, just explaining the service to the trustee. But it's just as simple as generating that authority form. And you can see there that we've got an authority form there for Bendigo Bank, and the trustees will need to sign this. Now, every financial institution could be slightly different, so make sure that you're just following the instructions on the authority form. You'll see here that you can post your completed form to the BGL data services, or you can email a scanned copy back to the bank feeds at bglcorp.com.au. Now, there is one other method, and it's probably a suggested method. It's definitely a more streamlined approach. Is once you've got that signed authority form, is to upload it directly into Simple Fund 360, so our team can instantly action that for you. So that is definitely the recommended approach if you do have the authority form and the client's returned it to you, that you can just directly upload it in the product and get it back into the system. Once the financial institution approves the process, it's usually a 10 to 14 business working days to get that feed operational and to get data in. And we're heading into a new financial year, so most financial institutions won't offer historical data. So we stress that you action this immediately, especially heading into a new financial year with the 1st of July approaching, so you can actually have or obtain data for the full financial year. Now, we've seen it how to get the authority form for a particular entity, but what I'm going to do is just flick across to the global filter, and it's a little hidden gem here that you're actually got the ability to select multiple entities. So if I go on the supported filter and I select multiple entities, and if I do have the BSB and account numbers in, you can see there that I can just hit the create authority forms. And that's going to actually create the authority forms in a zip file there. So you can see there that it's downloaded the zip file, and then I can distribute that to the trustees for signing. So that's how you can do it on a global level, where you don't have to go into each individual bank account to generate that particular authority form.
Just on that, Anthony, I mentioned at the start in terms of the plan, the timing of when you look at getting these forms signed, this bulk download is a particularly good option if you know that you have a large number of your clients coming in at this time of year for tax planning meetings, if you're not in Victoria and are actually allowed to have face-to-face meetings, that is. But if you do know that you have a large number of your clients coming in, having these forms ready to go, I did mention the timing of when you get the form, when you get to generate the forms and getting the form signed. From experience and having rolled out this sort of implementation of the automation, the best or the most buy-in we got from the clients with returning these signed forms was either when we sent the forms out for signing along with their collation of their financials and tax return because they already had pens out ready to sign, or when they came in face-to-face for a meeting with us and we explained the process to them and got them to sign it there and then. important. Well, I found it was important not to send the email out with an authority form just as a single email on its own, because the clients didn't necessarily see the value in printing it off, signing it for us and returning it back. Whereas when they were already in that process of completing that task, they were a lot more inclined to be providing us those forms. So that bulk one is great. If you have a particular time of year that you know, you'll be having a large volume of clients coming through the door and coming in for face-to-face meetings.
I think that's a great tip, Alyssa, and thanks for mentioning that. So what I'm going to do now, though, Alyssa, is I'm going to actually hand it back to you. So what happens if automation isn't an option, or if we're trying to maybe populate some data that's missing because an authority form hasn't been activated at the start of the year? What options are available for clients?
Yeah, absolutely. So as Anthony mentioned, with the bank feeds, what generally happens with them is the bank feed is started from the date that the financial institution switches it on, from once they've received the authority form. So if you had a plan to, say, get all your forms out by the end of financial year, however, you're finding that they're not necessarily coming back until, mid-July, maybe not until August, you will have a missing period where you are missing the data. You can see in the software when the data is obviously started from that feed management screen. You can also see it within the transaction screen as well. But if you are finding that you are missing data for a certain period, this is where the use of Smart Docs, you can also use the CSV as well, but the use of Smart Docs to import the data for that missing period, as well as if you've got a bank data feed that is not necessarily supported. So the use of Smart Docs to get that data in quickly to bridge that gap, or if the feed was not available, is a great tool to be using. So Anthony, once again, is going to do a demo for us just to showcase how Smart Docs works and how quickly it is to get that data in if you were missing transactions from a particular period.
Yeah, thanks for that, Alyssa. Look, Smart Docs is probably one of my favorite features that is available in Simple Fund 360, and it is free and it's a part of your subscription. So from the entity workflow, I'm just going to select the fund that's set up, ready to actually take on this particular upload. So I'm going to go and navigate to accounting. You can see there that I don't have any data in. I'm just going to go to the fast data entry screen and select my bank account. Now I could spend probably an hour talking about just this screen. So we're just going to show it in high level today. We're not going to go into too much detail. But yeah, your fast data entry screen, from here, what I can do is actually just going to open up a bank statement. So you can see here, I've got a Westpac bank statement with a number of transactions entered on this particular bank statement. Now, instead of keying this in manually into the transaction screen, or even transcribing it into the data entry spreadsheet screen, what I'm going to actually do is just drag it across and drop it to this little area here and hit the confirm button. Now, the AI built into Simple Fund 360 is going to actually read that PDF. It's going to scan it. And what it's going to do is it's going to automatically transcribe what's in that bank statement to the left-hand side here, so I can actually import it directly into my Simple Fund 360 ledger. Now, one of the benefits of this upload is that I can actually query the data that it's actually brought into the spreadsheet side. So if I select the $2,500 upload, you can see there that it's highlighted it on the statement there that it is the payment for the accounting and audit. Okay, so you can see there that it's related to the accounting and audit fee. So you can obviously select around and make sure that it is matching up to the particular statement. Now, something that I want to point out with the BGL Smart Docs, it is quite a new feature, or relatively new in the software. So there are a number of supported banks that you will be able to upload directly into Simple Fund 360, and you can see that in the actual help. But we do have the AI built in to read most bank statement PDFs. So even if it isn't a supported bank, give it a shot. Make sure, and if you do encounter some errors, it'll actually tell you that. So on the upload, it will give you some provisions when you're actually uploading it, and you'll be able to just cross-check to make sure that the information is entered and accurate as well. You can see here that we do a number of validations on every line entry to make sure that it's validated. you're going to be able to also on the upload, once you've brought in the once Simple Fund's actually read the file, you're going to be able to match up your closing balances, your total received and your total spent as well. So you can see there that everything matches up to the statement.
Anthony, from there, can I just get you to show something as well? If you are using this Smart Docs feature because you've set up a feed, and say, for example, your feed activated from the 14th of June 2018, I think it says 2018, you are able to delete those last few transactions.
Yeah, 100%.
Before you do the import as well. So you won't get a double up of the transactions, and you won't get a crossover of when the feed starts and the data that you're trying to import just until that feed's obviously kicked in.
Yeah, so this spreadsheet is fully editable. If there's anything that needs to be altered or deleted, it's just a matter of selecting that particular entry and making that change or deletion. So you can see here, even if I wanted to provide a bit more detail on the audit, I can actually just click into the field and then just type in anything extra. So yeah, you do have that flexibility there on that particular upload, 100%.
Yeah, wonderful.
All right, so I'm going to create that, and you can see there that that's going to actually import all those transactions into my ledger. We're not going to go through matching today, but it is going to have a look at all that data, and it's going to apply the smart matching algorithms in Simple Fund 360 to give you obviously an advantage in finishing your accounts early with all the AI that's built into Simple Fund 360.
Another important point to note, I think, about the Smart Docs is that it is a free service. So if you are using that feature to upload your bank statements across or getting your transactions in, it is a free service. It's included with the base price of the funds.
Yeah. Now, we've covered a lot of information today, Alyssa. I mean, we've gone through how to set up your data feeds. We've looked at the fund level and also at a global level on how to match it and obviously design a plan to keep that in place. But what are some of the key takeaways that clients can action from today's webinar?
Yeah, so the first thing I would be looking at is making sure your BSBs and account numbers are in the software for your funds, just so you can keep an eye on the supported accounts. And then you can sort of check to see from there, you know, how many of your funds actually have bank accounts that are supported for these bank feeds. From that mind map, just consider whether the feeds are necessary. As we said, it's not necessary to have bank feeds for every single fund that you're looking after. If you know for a fact it's going to have 12 transactions to put in at the end of the financial year, that's where something like the Smart Docs feature is probably more beneficial. And for a lot of you, I'm sure you can probably enter the transactions in using that data entry spreadsheet screen faster. So the addition of a bank data pack probably isn't necessary. You're not going to see the benefit out of it. From the feed management screen again, check to see the bank data availability that you have and the usage available to you. And if you need to be adding or purchasing any bank data packs, that can all be done through My BGL, which can be accessed from within the software as well. In terms of generating the forms for the signing by client, now I did notice there was a question around electronic signing. This is not a BGL, I suppose, roadblock. This is a financial institution roadblock. There are a large number of financial institutions that are currently not accepting electronic signatures. So we do recommend that you get an actual wet ink signature on those authority forms, just to prevent any roadblocks coming up from the financial institution once those forms are uploaded, so that we can get your feed started as soon as possible. Now, as we mentioned at the start, this webinar has been recorded and it will be sent out to everyone that's registered and attended today. If you have any more questions around the bank data and the automation plan, feel free to reach out to your account managers. You've also got access to the learning channel as well, which will cover off a lot of the tips, tricks, the how-tos for setting everything up. You can also obviously refer back to the webinar to check everything through, but we'll just jump to any extra questions that have been asked that we haven't got around to yet. So I'll just jump in.
There is a question there, Alyssa, just on CBA and how long the approval takes. Look, this does vary based on the institution, but what we normally tell clients is anywhere between 10 to 15 business working days once the financial institution receives the form.
Question. Yes, with the bank statements, they can just be from the PDF through the Smart Docs can be dragged and dropped in. You can also click on the plus button and browse through the files and locate the file that way, and then it will go into the Smart Matching screen. There will be further webinars on setting up the automated share data and wrap feed data. They will come later. We thought the first one and probably the best one to start with is that bank data coming through.
There is a question on bankstatements.com.au. Now, we didn't cover that in today's presentation. There is a help file that extensively goes through how to activate it. I will just basically say that how it's designed to work is that you go to the area to activate bankstatements.com and you click connect. Now, what you'll need is the trustee beside you because they'll need to put in their username and their password for banking. And what Simple Fund 360 does is it connects to bankstatements.com and it pretty much screen scrapes the data into Simple Fund 360 ledger. So that's how that's designed. You should probably look at the other option that we just showed today with BGL Smart Docs as well.
Got a question about how you delete a bank data feed request. Now, with the cancellation of the bank data feed, you will need to provide the details of the bank account that you're looking at cancelling. So the BSB account number, the fund name, and it gets emailed through to bankfeeds@bglcorp.com.au. There will be that information available in a help article as well, though. With the multiple bank statements, yes, you can upload multiple bank statements and it will read through the relevant dates, transactions, debits and credits. The Smart Docs feature can be obviously retrospective, so you wouldn't want to be importing or using Smart Docs once the bank feed has happened or has started. You'd be looking at using the Smart Docs feature to go backwards. So that can also be used for, say, for example, if you're looking at setting up the feeds in the next couple of days and they get set up before the end of financial year, for you to be able to import the data from the 1st of July 2020 for the 21 financial year, that's not a problem at all.
Just a question also about the Macquarie feeds, whether they're free. So if you go through Macquarie and set it up through the ESI feed, then yeah, it'll be free. But if you go through and activate it through the BGL Bank Data Service, then it'll be charged accordingly.
Anything up for you, Anthony? Need to be covered?
It looks like all the guys are getting to them, which is great.
I've got another question about multiple bank accounts for a fund. So that was an important point that I actually didn't cover. If you have a fund that has, say, 6 bank accounts in it, one bank data pack will cover all 6 bank accounts that you have or that you want to activate. It's not that you need 6 data packs for each bank account. So it's one data pack per fund, irrespective of how many bank accounts are within that fund. There's a question about the bank data feeds being audited and can they be they can now be forwarded to the auditor. Now, with the bank data feeds, there is a report that can be generated that is an Audit View report, which will identify the source of the data, and it will also show you whether anyone has manually overridden that data. I know from a practice perspective, when I was working in the firm, we still included the bank statements from 1 July through to 30 June with the audit pack that was sent to the auditors.
There's also a question on exporting data once it's been uploaded into Simple Fund 360. And it's a bit of a hidden gem, so that's why I thought I'd just quickly showcase it.
Yeah.
You can see my screen, Alyssa.
Yep.
At the top here, if I go to Account View, and this is an awesome screen where it's got an interactive trial balance. Say that I want to actually export some data. You can actually click into, say, the bank account, and then you've got the option to download to Excel as well. So, and that'll download the transactions. So handy little tool here and little feature that I always go to. So that's just through the account views. Take a look at it.
Anthony, while you're in the software and showing the software, can you just show us how you access that bank data, the bank report, the Audit View?
Bank audit, okay, yep. Are you talking about the ones in the reporting screen?
Yes. There's also a question just about if there are accounts with different banks. Yep, still covered under one bank data pack. So if you have a fund that has an ANZ account, a CBA account, and a Macquarie account, all covered under the one pack.
So there it is there. I'm pretty sure that's what you're talking about, Alyssa, the bank audit confirmation. Just under working papers. For bank term deposits, do you recommend just doing a journal for the transactions? Well, with practice, obviously being in practice, how did you deal with your term deposits?
With our term deposits, it's very dependent on whether your term deposits have been set up to have units or not have units. Our firm used to include the units, so we found that doing a manual journal to bring in the number of units when an interest payment came through was an easier way of doing it. We didn't have a large number of clients that had term deposits, so.
Yeah, well, it's just really, it goes back to volume, doesn't it? How many transactions are coming through? How many interest payments are coming through? Is anything running through the term deposits? But you could just simply get away with just uploading through the BGL Smart Box.
Now, I'm just going to double check the report that we showed before. So I'm thinking it is actually. With that, the source of the transactions for the Audit View, I think the report that we should be referring to is the General Ledger Audit View, and then you just select that you just want the bank account. Yeah, Anthony, if you're able to just do the General Ledger Audit View and then just select the bank account.
Can you see my screen?
Yep.
Yep. Is that what you're after?
Yeah, so you can select a bank account or you can select all bank accounts. We used to include the full General Ledger Audit View for the auditors to go through. but again, so if I get Anthony to preview that report, you'll be able to see the source of the data will come up.
I just don't know if this has got any data, so let's have a look.
Okay.
Transaction type bank statement. Yeah, so it's not coming through a bank feed. That's all it is.
So this, when it's coming through a bank feed, we'll have the source of the data, and we'll have a feed, and it will also have if the transaction has been modified. But if someone's gone in and changed the debit and credit amounts,
you've got a last modified by,
and that transaction type there for bank statement as well. Now, a lot of questions about the share data packs and the wrap accounts. We will run a separate webinar for those because they're different beasts altogether, and it's I suppose step 2 and step 3 of the automation plan. But yeah, first look at the bank data.
But just to summarize, your share data pack is to automate your buys and sells. So you've got your contract note service, and that'll automate your buys and sells for Australian listed shares. And then you've got your registry data service, which is a part of the share data pack. And that's just used to reconcile balances. It doesn't import data, but it's more of a reconciliation tool against the registries.
There's a question about, are we able to bulk email clients the bank authority forms?
That's an interesting question. Yeah. There's no bulk email facility in Simple Fund 360, but you would normally have to, especially if it's different funds, you would definitely need to probably go back to the plan, and it's best to probably have a look at how you want to get your trustees to sign that authority form. We did recommend when you do have a client meeting to actually get them to sign it when they've got their pen outs already signing the tax return. Unfortunately, yeah, you would actually have to single out and send the authority forms at this stage.
Yep, and they can definitely singly print the form off and sign it.
Yeah.
There's a question about Macquarie. I know from experience that I had a lot of issues with Macquarie. I don't know if this is the same with the bank accounts, but we had issues with the wrap setup, that you had to have the firm set up as an authorized third party, and then the client had to sign authority to allow Macquarie to release information to the third party. So there was 2 parts to set it up. So Christine, if you wanted to get in touch with us, we can have a look at what we can do and where you're getting stuck with that process. Any other questions standing out for you, Anthony?
I think we'll leave it there. The team's on top of that. So there's a couple of outstanding questions that the team will get back to those guys on. So if you just hold tight, but just want to thank everyone for attending today, and hopefully you were able to take some tips and tricks away with you so you can get those feeds operating and get the best out of Simple Fund 360.
Thanks very much for your assistance in co-hosting with me, Anthony, and for all your live demos. And yes, thanks everyone for attending, and wishing you the best of luck with your automation projects.
Always a pleasure, Alyssa. We'll leave the forum open for the next 5 minutes. We do have a number of BGL experts listening in, and if you're waiting for a question, they will get back to you. So thanks for listening in, guys, and we hope to catch you at the next BGL training event.
Thanks very much, guys.